Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and we are again going to check in on our Bokashi. This is week 9, and it's still just in the tote. Haven't really added much other than maybe some coffee grounds. We probably will add some crushed eggshells this time to maybe balance out some of the acidity in there, just in case there is some. And we're going to check and see how it's doing and see if the worms are doing well like they were last time. So let's go to the tote and take a look. All right, so let's take a look and see how this is doing. First, let's take this lid off here. And I'm going to flip this lid over and put it back underneath. You can see that it is quite moist. It actually looks pretty good. So there's good water in here. I'm not seeing nearly as many fruit flies as I saw before. I'm seeing a couple get out here, but not many. So that's not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Last time was really, there was a lot of fruit flies in there, and I was really worried about that. But this time, not nearly as bad. So let me start digging in here and take a look. So again, not surprising. There's a lot of little looks like pot worms on the coffee grounds. I usually find those on there. There's a couple of fruit flies coming out here. So let me just see. I'm not seeing too many though. So let's start digging in here. So you can see there's some worms here. There are some worms already on the top here, and they look pretty good. So I think this is doing pretty well. Let's just sort of dig down in here. Again, more worms, nice and healthy big worms too. These aren't real scrawny looking. Let's just dig right here. Not sure what's over here, but let's just take a look. Looks like there's a leftover of some coffee grounds. Got that shell in here. Again, this one's harder than the others. I can't just break this one kind of like I could with the other one, the other big claw pieces. Let's just dig down over here a little bit. This is where the big piece of paper was that I had on top originally. A lot of worms over here. They are moving around. I'm not sure what this is. I think that might be maybe a grape, I don't know, some skin of some sort. Whatever it is though, the worms over here, there are worms in this area. They look like they're moving through the material pretty well. Although they don't look as lively as they did last week, which kind of worries me. I like it when they're really, really lively. And, you know, they're just not quite as lively as they were. So I don't know if it's a moisture thing. It looks like they're gathering on the outside here, which makes you think it might be not enough moisture in here maybe. It does seem a little bit dry. Or maybe it's acidity. But they are moving, as you can see. I mean, there's a lot of them. So you can see that there's a lot of worms in here. And they are moving around, just not as well as I would like. Normally I like it when they're kind of kicking around a little bit. So over here, it does look like there's like a white mold or something that's forming. I don't know what that's about. No odor this time from it so far. I'm just going to leave that right here. Let's just dig over here a little bit. See what it looks like. Oh, this is where tons of worms right over here, and these are moving a little bit better. I think this is where we had the grapes. Looks like this is a grape stem of some sort. Looks like there are some worms right here that are mating. So that's good for future populations. Let's just see here. Corn on the cob. Still feels a little hard. I'm not going to try to break it in half. I don't want to spray everywhere. But the worms here are moving pretty well. This side not as well, but this side they're moving pretty well. So there's better food quality over here, or food stocks for them. Again, here's another corn on the cob. Looks like the end of a banana peel. Here's a bone. This looks like a chicken bone. I was able to break that one in half, no problem. So maybe they'll be able to break it down a little bit more with it being broken in half. Let's just see here. Worms are moving pretty good on this side. I think there's enough water on this side maybe, or maybe it's just the food source is better. You know, with corn on the cobs and the grape stems, which they seem to really like. So let's dig over here now. Another bone, chicken bone. Actually, hold on a second here. Here we go. Here's one of my first cocoons I found in here. You can see it right, oops, I'm blocking it right there. Right there, you can see the cocoon. So they are forming more worms in here. There's more little worms that are going to be born in here. Again, not moving quite as much as they were on, I'm sorry, this side over here. Here's another cocoon, actually. So, oops, let's see if I can grab that. There you go. You can see that one nice and clear. Nice bright yellow cocoon there. Let's just see, make it focus on my hand. There we go. So there's more worms are going to be in this bin later. Sorry for reaching across the camera. I'm trying to find the best way to get in here, though. So, again, not quite as lively on this side. More worms right along the edge here. Tons of worms along the edge. That makes me really think that there's not enough moisture in here. They're going to the edge usually for moisture, I've found in the past. So, let's try to bury this stuff down in here again. Well, this is the side that's always had the trouble here with these chicken pieces that are just kind of rotting in here. Hopefully stuff, I'm not getting any smell this time, but hopefully they're starting to break into this center section. It looks like, actually, it looks like the bones are now in pieces instead of having a whole bunch of material between them. So it looks like they're getting better at this, at breaking these apart. So it's not rotting, though, anymore like it was in the past. So I think what we're going to do, though, there are quite a few worms over here still. I think what we're going to do this time, though, is we're going to add, and this is something I think actually helps with fruit flies as well. So I'm going to add some crushed eggshell to the top of this. And actually, I'm going to spray it first, then add the crushed eggshell. So I'm going to take off my glove here. I'm going to grab my spray bottle, which I have right over here, right behind me. Give it a couple pumps and put a little bit of moisture in here. Even though I think there was enough, but just make sure there's enough water in here. Oops, sorry, I bumped the camera there. Just make sure there's enough moisture. This will hopefully help them out a little bit. Because they do breathe through their skin, it's important that they have moisture. And they can dry out a little bit, you know, more than they need to sometimes. So, all right. So with that, now we're going to add some crushed eggshell. So for those that don't know, what I do is I take my eggshells when I actually have a video on this. I'll link it up top. But this is a can that has crushed eggshell in it. So I put this through one of my blenders after they are dry. And I'm just going to sprinkle this on top. Now, just so you know, this stuff is actually really bad to breathe in. So while I'm doing this, I am going to hold my breath. And I will probably pause it and walk away. And come back in just a few seconds and we'll continue here. So. All right, so it's been a couple minutes here. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of turn this around in here. Just kind of mix it in. I don't want it just all on top like that. I want it sort of mixed into the material. So it'll actually work its way down into the material a little bit and help it to neutralize any acidity. And also, I've found that this kind of, adding a lot of this can kind of get rid of fruit flies. I don't know if they just don't like them or if they're kind of rough. I mean, like if you're looking at my gloves here, you know, they're really rough. You can hear them. And I found that I wonder if they kind of do the same thing as some of the crushed earth that you can use. I can't remember the name of the soil, like something with a D, but anyhow, there's a soil that you can, or a crushed rock you can add to your bins that are supposed to get rid of fungus gnats or fruit flies, and it's supposed to kind of break their exoskeletons as they go by it, and it kind of makes them dry out and die. And this stuff, I wonder if it works similarly, because when I add it, I do find a tremendous reduction in the amount of fruit flies and fungus gnats or stuff like that I find in the bin. So I wonder if this stuff sort of does the same thing. But either way, adding this is great as a grit for the worm's gizzards, and along with the fact that it balances out the acidity in the bin. I like to crush it up because if you throw in full eggshells, by the way, you will pull them back out of the bin later. So this is doing pretty well. It doesn't have any of that smell it had before, that odor that was really bad. It is starting to really kind of break down, I think, some of the materials in here that have been really hard in some of my bins. Like the grape stems I know take forever, it feels like, to break down. And a lot of times the grapes will start smelling like wine as they ferment in these bins if I throw it in by themselves. Bones normally don't break down at all, I found, and they're not doing great in here, but you know, that's okay. Surprisingly, the lobster shell, which I had shown one time, I was able to crush it apart, and that's somewhere in this section over here. So it's working pretty well. I'm going to put the lid back on, and we'll come back in another week. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, of course, leave a comment.